Hi, this is Margo. This is Monday evening, August 26th, 2019. I hope everyone is doing well, or as well as can be expected. And I was not able to do a show yesterday. I had all the data ready, but things didn't work out as planned. But that's okay. I'm doing a show today. This is my weekly report on methane and the sea ice and snow cover in the Arctic. So, this is from Climate Reanalyzer. This is showing the sea ice and snow cover in the Arctic as of today. But before we go there, I'm just going to go over methane. So here we have cams pulled up. I'm showing the data from Saturday. They also have the data from Sunday out, but I'm showing Saturday data because that's the data from NOAA that I collected, and so we can look at that as well. So this is Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Services, and this is from Saturday the 24th, the Arctic view and surface level. And so I have the movie loaded up. So this is where the methane left off on Friday. We're seeing high releases off of Iceland, also off of Svalbard, and in this Norwegian area and northwest Russia. Also Russia's filling up. Also we have arms moving across of methane, waves of methane coming up through the Arctic. It doesn't have to be red or orange in order for it to be moving up. Just the green is methane and the lighter green is higher releases of methane. So we'll run this movie for the Arctic. So the data is from Saturday, and the forecast period runs Sunday through Wednesday. It'll stop jumping after this first time through. So we're seeing releases that goes all the way across the Arctic and over into Canada. Now there was a storm up here in northern Canada, in these island regions, starting Friday, and it went, I think, Friday and Saturday mainly, and some meteorologists called it a cyclone. I don't really know if it was an actual cyclone or not, but it was definitely a storm, an Arctic storm, that there was rain, and so, and the winds were high enough that the waves were probably choppy, and so a lot of the sea ice this is where that thicker ice was hanging around. A lot of that has now decreased and actually gone away, and we're not at the end of the melt season yet, so it's not looking good for the sea ice. So as we're looking at this methane, we're seeing high releases here in Siberia moving across Alaska, still parts of Canada, and this east coast of the United States. And I'm just going to do a short showing on methane. I'm not going to go into great detail. If you want detailed reports, I do those on my Subscribe Star page for my members. So we'll just pull up the global view now, if it'll pull up. there it is. So if we go back to the beginning of Saturday, here's what methane looked like globally. So we're seeing China is really covered up, Korea, Japan, India, northern India. This is also here in the Persian Gulf is high releases, and that's where a lot of oil is processed and everything in Saudi Arabia and Iran. So there's the global view at surface level, and at 500 HPA, this is about halfway up in the atmosphere. Here's what it looked like. It was very dark over Asia here, and then gathering reddish color in the Arctic. And if we look at total column, it's worse every day I look at it, and so it's in the black zone now over China, and also moving out over the Pacific and over India, and in the red zone over here in the Persian Gulf and over Saudi Arabia, in the orange zone moving on over into Africa. It's also moving up into the red zone in Russia and all the way across here, and a couple of parts of South America. It's also in the red zone over the Pacific Ocean. So methane is on the rise, definitely on the rise. And this is also the day that I report on the NOAA data. I take the NOAA data from Saturday every week. I've been tracking it with from the 477 millibar readings, although on their chart here it shows 469 MB, but when you click on the GIF it's 477 to get to this reading. So the METOP-1 and METOP-2 satellites both take readings in the morning and the afternoon, so we have 4 readings. The mean for this METOP-1 satellite in the morning on the 24th was 1,897 parts per billion. The range was 1514 to 2323 parts per billion. And you can see a lot of the northern hemisphere is in this fuchsia range, which is in the higher range, which can be up to 2323 parts per billion. And even in the Antarctic, we see it in the fuchsia range as well. And then in the METOP-1 in the afternoon, the highest was 2394, and the mean was 1895. And we have some missing data here with the white areas. And then METOP-2 in the morning the mean was 1870, and in the afternoon the mean was 1871. Now, I plugged those numbers into my spreadsheet that I've been tracking with. Here it is from this last Saturday. Added up those 4 means and divided them by 4, and the average for 477 millibars was 1,883.25 parts per billion, and that's a rise of 3.25 parts per billion from the week before. So that's a huge increase, and here it is on the chart where it jumped from last Saturday to this Saturday. And since March 1st, since I started tracking this, it's an increase of 26 parts per billion, which is a huge increase. And 477 millibars is about at 20,000 feet up in the atmosphere, or 6,096 meters. And there was a question that came in, or a comment on my YouTube, my video from last week, where someone was wanting to know past readings and, you know, could they go back 10 years and all this stuff. And, you know, you're welcome to do your own research and find it for yourself. But these readings are, I'm pretty sure they're the highest that we've had. But I've only been tracking it with the NOAA data like this since this year. So I don't have past years to go back and look at. But you're welcome to do your own research on that. So methane is definitely increasing. And the months that it increases usually starts in July, and then it increases through about December, and then it goes down, and then it starts back up. But it's been different this year because in March it started going up, and it's been steadily, even though it's gone down a little bit, it's been on the rise since March 1st is what we've seen. Alright, now we're going to move on to the sea ice part of the report. And I have a slideshow lined up, and then we're going to look at a couple of websites. And here is the sea ice and snow cover from today from Climate Reanalyzer. The extent, you can see the edge where the extent is, and then where it's darker, it's less concentrated. So we're just going to go back to last week when I did my show, so 8 days ago. So there's the 25th, so that you can see where we came from. There's the 23rd. Now this is the day that the storm developed. 22nd, 21st, 20th, 19th, and 18th was my last show, which was last Sunday, the 18th. So let's go forward again, and you can see how things have changed since then. And here it is from today. Now the Navy website has been, I couldn't access it for the last few days, and then I was able to access it today. So here's the sea ice thickness from today. I'm going to blow it up so you can see. This is from the 26th. And the thickest that we're seeing here is a little bit of aqua that's around 2 meters thick, and a little bit of yellow and just a hint of red, which is a little bit thicker than the 2 meters. But the blue is about 1 meter to 1.5 meter, and then the purple is about 1 meter and under. So we can see that it's gone way down since last week. The extent we can see, I mean, ships could go all the way through here. They could go through that, no problem. They wouldn't need an icebreaker or anything. And so it's melted all around the coastlines. There's no ice around any of the coastlines here. The Baffin Bay is totally clear. We can see a little bit of skim of ice over here on northeast Greenland. But look at here on the northern edge of the Canadian islands, or the archipelago. And this is where that thick sea ice used to reside, and it's now just barely, like a little bit of lavender. It's all broken up, and we'll see that on NASA Worldview, except it's pretty cloudy still. But it's also broken up here into the lavender area. Also here to the east of the North Pole, it's white, meaning that it's down to nothing pretty much right there. And it's just very thin. So the sea ice is not faring well at all. Here's the 30-day animation from the Navy. It goes back 3 weeks and then goes forward for 1 week in the forecast to September the 2nd. And so by a week from now, okay, I'm going to stop it. By a week from now, this is where they're anticipating the sea ice to be, with these melting more in white area just to the east of the North Pole, and still very thin along here. Now, also had another question that came up under my video last week. I had covered an article from the National Snow and Ice Data Center about the melt season, and about how it starts. The melt season usually runs until about mid-September, and then the sea ice starts refreezing. It could, but I don't know if it's going to refreeze then or not. It can start refreezing, but we can still have melting from underneath, because the water underneath is warm. So I don't think we can go by previous years. I think that we're really in uncharted territory, and to say the melt season is going to be over by September the 15th, I think is unrealistic. So I also made this movie. This is from NASA Worldview, and it's from the 16th through the 23rd. And you can see the difference in the concentration. Where it goes more blue, that's less concentration or thinner. So here's where it was on the 23rd. And that's when the storm was beginning, right up here. So that's all I had on the slideshow. Here's Climate Reanalyzer from today. This is the 2-meter temperature anomaly. We can see a lot of Siberia is in the brown on these coastlines, and a lot of the Arctic is in the brown. Also Norway and Europe, this whole area is in the brown. They have high methane releases as well. Northern Canada is in the brown. Also this Baffin Bay is in the brown as well. And we're concentrating on the Arctic, so I'm not going to do a whole global thing, because I'm trying to make this a little bit shorter tonight. We also see today that it's raining over here to the east of Greenland. There's a large system coming up here. And it's snowing over here. This is blue, this is snow. There's a little bit of rain up here on this northwest corner of Greenland. Here's your sea level pressure. We still have pretty low, well, it's 990, it looks like, about. So there's still a low up there, so it still could be stormy up there. Here's the jet stream. You can see how it's divided up and it's like wandering snakes. Here's the sea ice and snow cover like I showed you. Here's the sea surface temperature. It's above zero. So you can even see where the ice is trying to, part of the ice is the temperature of the sea ice. Sea is above zero there. And this is the sea surface temperature anomaly. They don't update this daily like they do everything else. The latest data is from last Thursday, August 22nd, and we can see that the sea surface temperature in the Arctic is mainly browns and reds all around the edge of the sea ice. And so, look how it's red and into the pinky color here in the Baffin Bay and all around Greenland, and into the pinky color, which is 6 degrees Celsius or centigrade higher than normal. This is in the Kara Sea and also in the Laptev Sea, and we got reds over here in the Chukchi Sea. So this is why I'm not anticipating the melt season to end in mid-September. If we keep up with these reds and browns up here, I don't see it coming back anytime soon. It could keep melting for a while. I don't know how long. Even with the sun down, it could keep melting. So we're in no man's land. So now, here on the National Snow and Ice Data Center, here's their sea ice concentration from yesterday, the 25th, and that matches what I was showing you from NASA Worldview. And here's their chart. This is just sea ice extent, area of ocean with at least 15% sea ice, and they count any little covering of ice on the water as sea ice extent. They don't go into thickness here or concentration. And we can see the dotted line is the 2012 line, and so here we are, the blue line. So it broke away from being the lowest on record, and it's a little bit higher than 2012, but it's still much lower than all the other years. So that's compared to all the other years this time of the year. Here's the Greenland ice sheet today. We can see the daily melt has gone way down just in the salmon areas, so that's melting a lot less. Here's the cumulative melt days for this year, and overall we can see that most of Greenland has had some melting this year, but the most of it was over on the west side down here. And here's the chart showing the melt extent, and we can see here it is for August. It's underneath the blue median line. So for right now, the melting on Greenland has slowed way down, it looks like. Now let's take a peek at the sea ice here on NASA Worldview. Here it is from today. All of our data is in that we need to see. It's still pretty cloudy up here from the storm that's still going on. So the storm was right up here. Here's Greenland. Here's Svalbard. You can, even though you're looking through a thin layer of clouds here, you can see the edge of the sea ice right along here, coming up. This line is the 80-degree north latitude line. So the edge is well in from the east side of 80 degrees. This right here is the North Pole. Here we can see the sea ice. There's no clouds here. It's not very well formed at all. That's as close as I can get. We can see a lot of open ocean there. So it's not well formed at all. This is at 88 degrees north latitude. Now this is pretty phenomenal to see, to have a day like this that's as cloud free as possible. Normally we've got all kinds of clouds over here. It's been forever since I've been able to see the sea ice like this. So this is really phenomenal to see it. But look at, I'm going to see how close I can get to the North Pole. That's as close as I can get in. That's at 89 degree. That's 89 degrees north latitude. The North Pole is at 90. So that's all broken up. It's a little bit blurry, but that's definitely broken up. And here it is broken up here. That's at 88. Now we're in clouds, so we can't really see what's going on. This is northern Greenland. Here's where it's all broken up. So there's that. Look at this. You can really see broken up there. Now we're on the west side of the North Pole. That's very thin. That's lacy, what I call lacy ice. L-A-C-Y. But they count that as extent, but it doesn't do what ice is supposed to do. So it doesn't really cool as much as it should. Here's the Beaufort Sea. It's very cloud covered right now, but there's no ice there. Here's Alaska, all around here. Here's Russia. Here's the Chukchi Sea. Here's the Bering Strait. That's all ice free. Here's the Chukchi Sea. The East Siberia ice shelf is right along here. under the surface, where massive amounts of methane are stored in just in the seabed. There, it's very shallow, and that's where they're anticipating the methane bomb could go off. And I think it could happen any day now, and I think that we could have more than one go off. If that happens, it's game over very fast, very quickly for the planet. So those are the clouds. We have open, no clouds there. This is this island, these islands that has all these ice caps. This is the Vavilov ice cap that's retreating to the sea, racing to the sea. Here you can see it flowing. This is the ice flowing into the ocean. Massive, massive flowing. You can see it there. That's yesterday. Here's Novaya Zemlya. It's totally ice-free. There's the Yamal Peninsula, full of methane. And there's Russia. Here's Finland, Sweden, Norway, where we saw that methane coming up. So let's see what the smoke looks like. We're still seeing a lot of smoke coming up from the wildfires that are burning. We can turn on the wildfire layer. It's not that many, but it's still producing a lot of smoke. Not as many as it used to be. And another thing, with all of the smoke and the radiation that came up from those explosions in Russia, it came straight over the Arctic. And so when you have a storm like what we had, you know, all that smoke is in the storm, and so when you have rain and snow and everything, it's a toxic mix, it's a toxic soup that's raining down on the sea ice or snowing down on the sea ice, and it will eat that sea ice up even faster. So let's just go back a day and see if we can see a little bit clearer view. Now, lots of clouds, because the storm moved up here, and then they're anticipating another one coming back around. In fact, I wasn't going to get into a whole thing here, but you can look it up for yourself on Climate Reanalyzer. You go to Global, go to Arctic, we can go to Precipitation and Cloud Cover, and we can go back to, we can start on the 23rd, and that was the day of the storm. So here's the Arctic, here's Greenland, and here's the rain. The green is rain, the blue is snow, the purple is freezing rain. So we can see here's rain over here, a little bit of snow, but this is the system that was coming up. And then you can run the movie. And we can see what it did. And then it moved up and out. And then here's another system that's come swirling around. Then here's this one coming up from the Atlantic. And then here's the second system coming across. And in this one it looks like they've got snow over the sea ice, but rain over here. So it's a 10-day, and then it starts over. So that's the Arctic. So I'll go ahead and sign off for now. I do believe we are in the end times, and we're seeing evidence of this daily, and I'm reporting as I see the anomalies. And I think it's time to get your spiritual house in order, get right with God and Jesus, because you don't know if you've got tomorrow. You don't know when your last breath is going to be. Nobody knows the day or the hour. So until next time, I hope everyone is doing as well as possible, and I will speak to you soon. God bless you. Go in peace, and goodbye.